Hello, babies and gentlemen, this is the Dak speaking. I just saw a video by Sean entitled Abilities as Rights. Well, though I've got certain reservations toward that video, I thought the title was very, very useful in my own understanding of what rights are. Because essentially, seeing rights as abilities, to me, is pretty correct. The title is called Abilities as Rights. Okay? But in my opinion, what's fairer and what's more appropriate, correct, is to say that it's not abilities that are rights, it's rights that are abilities. Okay? And you don't just need something to be an ability to automatically become a right. This means that rights are a certain type of ability. Every right that you can think of, that I could think of, is an ability. But not every ability that we have is a right, in my understanding. For instance, you may have the ability to beat someone up, right? You may have the ability to kill them. You may have the ability to take property out of them. That, to me, is not a right, okay? But to become owner of something, okay, to control your own body, self-property, property over external reality. You know, liberty, it's the exercise of motion and freedom of action, freedom of association. That's all things that you can do on your own. You don't really depend on no one else to do those things. So I posted a comment at this video, and I'd like to read it. I said basically that abilities aren't rights, but rights are abilities, and that I would define rights as those natural abilities where one uses its own resources. What I mean by resources, it's basically our own body and our own justly acquired property, I guess. Its own resources and not the other people's resources. If you think of rights like right to an education, right to an health care, those aren't properly rights because those are positive rights. They are not reliant only on yourself, on your own abilities. You need external forces, external people to provide those rights to you. They are not yours. They are not your abilities. Okay? So that's how I see it. So those natural abilities where you are using your own resources instead of other people's resources, okay, to achieve your own goals, and these goals may be varied. You know, they may be purely subjective preferences, like the kind of clothes you wear, or the kinds of video games you wear, or the kinds of hobbies that you do, or it may be other kinds of stuff, more important goals, like happiness, who you get to marry with, expressing your sexual preference, or your romantic preferences. Maybe you want to be you want to live in a monogamous relationship. Maybe you want to live in polyamory. I don't know. What I know is that when you're pursuing goals with your natural abilities without coercive infringement on other people's rights, and this means their equal ability to do and to pursue all the goods that I'm talking about, this means when you're not in coercive infringement of other people's rights or the products of their rights, this meaning the concrete manifestations, the concrete expressions of their rights. Okay? For instance, you're not infringing on their right to possess, okay? But you're not infringing on what they possessed, you know, on the concrete manifestations of their rights. Okay? For instance, their behaviors and their lifestyle. Okay? You're not infringing on those specific behaviors. Okay? And I would gather that if you infringe if you do coercive infringement on the concrete manifestations of those people's rights, you are automatically, therefore, infringing on the rights themselves of those people. Okay. And so, that's my definition. Natural abilities where you use your own resources instead of other people's resources without to achieve your own goals without coercive infringement on those people's rights or products of thereof. Oh, and I just remember, don't forget contracts, which are basically a class of rights. You have the right to contract, which is a natural ability. And that's it. And also another component, and this is something I see a lot, presented in a very confusing manner, like rights as pure social constructs. I mean, to an extent that is true, but it is more useful and more correct to think of the efficacy, the effectiveness of rights. Okay? I think rights pre-exist and are correctly defined the way that I defined them. But for rights to be effective, they need to be respected. This means that people recognize in themselves and in others these natural abilities that I talked about, and they do claims on those goods. Those claims must be respected by the other members of society, okay? By people of their immediate relationships or not so immediate. But what I'm talking about is that to be effective, rights need social support. And this does not mean that rights are born from that recognition. This only means that rights are not effective, do not produce efficacy without being recognized, honored, respected. This means that you can infringe on rights. So, this was my comment for the day. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe to the channel. Be cool. Girl, say I'm the man. Ice on the wrist with the ice in the chain. Ride through the hood, yeah, I'm dripping.